right, in the top right, not having won a map as of yet, it is StRyKeR. And in the bottom left, Nyoken. Nyoken. Okay, so Nyoken able to go 1-1 against models so far. This is our first TVZ of the night. Both these players saying this is their strongest matchup. And yeah, I think I would pretty much agree with that. It's rare that you find a Terran player like Father, who says Terran versus Protoss is their best matchup. And honestly, everyone gets so little Terran versus Terran practice that no one really feels solid in it. There's just not that many Terrans playing on ladder, and when they do hit TVT, I would say like most of the games are just like gamble builds, or maybe not most, but like let's call it 40% of the games are gamble builds, like proxy racks, one base all in, command center first type games. So yeah, Terrans generally don't feel like that's their best matchup, although historically that was Nyoken's best matchup. You know, back in the day there were a bit more Terran players. But yeah, both these guys feeling very strong in this matchup, and I'm not sure who's favored here, honestly. I think that these two are really well matched for Terran versus Zerg. Overall for the map, I personally like Eclipse for Terran versus Zerg overall, right? Because, for instance, StRyKeR here, third base, pretty obvious. You're going to be taking right here. But where do you take your fourth? You can try to sneak here, but Terran knows you're going to try to sneak here, so they'll watch. Or this is the closest one, but it's not that hard to keep units here and keep units like here-ish or here-ish, right? So containing the Zerg onto 3 base is relatively easy. That being said, like if Zerg, for instance, gets either of these bases up, those are impossibly hard to break. So in those types of situations, it definitely can flip around a bit. And of course, top left. Honestly, no one ever gets top left. If top left is taken, whoever has it wins, I guess. It's double gas. What are you going to do? All right, so Nyoken going for a wall in here. This is telling us that he's very likely to go for a very fast +1 attack. Very normal right now. It's kind of like the build that you see most often. Scouting StRyKeR's base and seeing that it is, in fact, a 2-hatch play. Definitely what you see out of StRyKeR most often. He plays a pretty standard style. Now, when you do this type of wall-in, there's a few things that Zerg can consider. First off, it's another location that Mutalisks can harass, right? You're not really going to have turrets at this. So that can be an interesting choice. Also, things like if you get lurkers on top of this, you get the depots for free. So like a 2-base lurker all-in can be a little bit stronger against this, I think. You know that they're not going to make a bunker, which is really... it basically tells you that they're going to play greedily, so you can kind of counter that in the way that you deem best. And Nyoken, yeah, he's getting that quick gas. We should see an engineering bay come down really quickly now. Layer on the way. Some Lings gonna go after this SCV. And he's gonna get it. Nyoken kept the SCV alive long enough that it's like, okay, you don't... It's very rare that the SCV is still alive when the layer finishes, even at the pro level. It generally doesn't happen. And look at that. Okay. So now we start to get a feel for what StRyKeR wants to do. It's more common with 2-hatchery play to throw up a 3rd hatch at a 3rd base. Because unless your opponent is doing an academy rush, they cannot kill it before you have Mutalisks. Basically, that's just the timing. They have to skip a bunch of SCVs, and then it's like, okay, we're in a completely different game. But that's not what Nyoken is doing. You wouldn't wall in like this, most likely, if you were doing that build. Oh my god, Nyoken's actually teching up. But anyways, that's crazy. We're going to talk about this in a second. I want to talk just a little bit more about this 3rd hatchery in the main. Generally, the 3rd hatchery in the main, I feel like what we should call this is like, there's 2 different ways. One, it can be a battle Zerg, where you want the extra larva to actually take a battle and kill off the Marines and Medics in the center. The other one is, this is more of a macro hatch, and you're taking a slightly slower game, where you're going to dive more with your mutas, right? If you guys remember the Gypsy Jaeyoon game that we ended on yesterday, Jaeyoon was diving with his mutas pretty heavily, but also was taking a 3rd base. So when you dive with your mutas more heavily, you get a bunch of damage, but the mutas take damage, which means Terran can be more aggressive. if you make your third hatch in your base, you can dive with the mutas all day because there's only one location to defend. So you can just make 3-4 sunkens here and be completely fine. There's nothing else for Terran to attack. So yeah, that's what I think about when I look at what StRyKeR is doing here. Now, on Nyoken's side, he's doing a Valkyrie rush. Okay, just straight up a Valkyrie rush. I'm trying to remember. I had Flash's build from when he used it against Zero a whole lot in ASL. I imagine it's the same build. Like, Nyoken would probably take the build from Flash to use, but it might be... I mean, he tinkers with builds as well, so... Not 100% sure, but... You can tell that this man lives in Korea and plays the ladder. Right? Let's have that eBay, but it's not going. Because... Like, Korean Mutalisk micro at really high levels, like Nyoken on the Korean ladder is like low S, high A player, basically. You know, it's really hard to, when you're playing Koreans all day, to maintain that S rank that he does when he's not in Korea. But the Mutalisk micro gets so insane. This just ends it, basically. If you go for a Valkyrie build, they just have to change what they're doing. They can't stay on the mutas. So those mutas coming in. Ooh, the turrets are just not ready. Just barely. This is huge from StRyKeR. Oh, just a small mistake from Nyoken. Like, literally seconds off. But he's actually killing a lot of these mutas. And now the Valkyrie comes out. Okay, this is very... Well, this was kind of wild. StRyKeR really dived there. Loses quite a few mutas, and honestly, those Marines that Nyoken lost, I don't think he cares. Like, he can remake the Marines. The mutas are way more expensive. If he had also lost a bunch of SCVs, okay, absolutely 100%, that was great. But I think that was pretty good. I think that was fine for Nyoken, I guess, actually. Not pretty good, but fine. Okay, StRyKeR is taking his third base, hatching more mutas. Okay, if you're gonna hatch more mutas here, I believe you also have to get Carapace, and you probably have to make some Scourge to try to pick off the Valkyries, because if that's going to be your defense, like maybe he's just going to buy time, right? He lost enough that he feels like he needs a few more to buy time to make sure Nyoken doesn't walk across the map, because Nyoken's about to have 3 Valks, and like 3 Valks and enough Marines that your Marines don't die to Zerglings, you will just walk up and kill the third, or whatever if he doesn't have Sunkens anywhere, right? All right, the muta's coming in for this harass. Here come a couple Scourge. Ooh, some big volleys there, shredding a couple mutas. A ton of damage put on. Gonna go ahead, take out the Overlord as well. Looks like he's gonna try to dive. Oh, he's gonna get one. Nice pick off there from StRyKeR. But still, 2 Valkyries. Nyoken completely fine. Like this, even though this looks like a silly, like weak army, the mutas just can't do it. Valkyries are really, really good against mutas. Very cool build to be seeing here out of Nyoken. All right, Sunk's coming up. He realizes he needs something here to hold on. Valkyries went a little bit far ahead, so couldn't help out against those mutas. There's only 1 Scourge in there, so the Valkyries actually will still decimate. All right, Nyoken going up against the Sunks. Just gonna take this fight. StRyKeR flying up with his mutas now. Oh, man. Okay, he's gonna get on top of those. He is just losing every muta instantaneously. Only a handful of Marines left. Oh, 3 more medics coming up to heal those. So 4 Marines with stim, and he's got like a few Hydras. Ooh, StRyKeR really taking some damage here. Very, very painful indeed. And I imagine Nyoken's gonna actually get the kill. More Lings coming out. There are some more units coming across the map. I'd love to see him stim those forward. If these pop out, yeah, look at that. Blocks the ramp there with a couple medics, but StRyKeR actually didn't bring his units up. Looks like he's just going to give up this base, and probably rightfully so. You don't want to just keep bleeding into it. Okay, let's take a look at the position of these 2 players. Nyoken does have +1 going. No upgrades done yet. Science facility on the way. 2nd starport. 5 racks. Pretty solid. Only thing he's really lacking is upgrades. StRyKeR has lost his 3rd. He lost all of his mutas. No hive tech, just lurker ling. Yeah, StRyKeR is definitely well behind right now. Looks like he wants to get in here and maybe... I don't think he can bust, but maybe a lurker containment would be good. Okay, he's going to get those depots. I was kind of talking about this before. You got to be prepared to lose these and instantly start 2 more in your main. But yeah, if he gets more down here, that can be a really strong contain. 3 is not that much. Like, you can just stim and spread and send out like 16 Marines and kill those. But if you get like 5 or 6 in a little choked area, it becomes very hard for Terran to break out. We see that Nyoken going for siege tanks in siege mode. That's going to be how he pushes him back. But StRyKeR actually backs up. He is taking his 3rd base over here. This is the easiest to defend base. But Nyoken gonna find it, unfortunately, for StRyKeR. All right. It's like StRyKeR wants to hold this, but just cannot. No way, no how. Trying to push up there. Nyoken coming in with a flanking group of Marines. You know what's really cool, I gotta say? Brood War is such a beautiful game, okay? We watched like a lot of really good Terran vs. Zergs between Gypsy and Jaeyoon yesterday. And now we're watching Nyoken and StRyKeR. And here's the thing. StRyKeR and Jaeyoon are friends. They talk a lot. Gypsy and Nyoken are friends. They talk a lot. All 4 of those players are approximately the same level. But when you watch their games, StRyKeR plays completely different from Jaeyoon. And Nyoken plays completely differently from Gypsy. Just completely different styles, unit movements, everything about their play. All 4 of these players is incredibly different, yet they're all the same level. Tell me another game that's like that. You're not going to find it. All right, some lurkers being snuck out. Okay, yeah, this is a decent way to try to get an additional base, right? You sneak the lurkers out and get them on top of the ramp as you're making the hatchery. But, I mean, that's even less map control now. Going up towards the hive. I mean, he still can't be broken all the way, right? I guess a siege tank is coming over, so maybe there is some potential there for Nyoken to get a kill. Only a single siege tank. Okay, he does make a second. I was going to say, if you get siege mode, you need to make at least 2 siege tanks or you feel like a clown. Okay, out comes the lurkers with some lings here. StRyKeR really low on supply, having a hard time. I don't know how he's going to get this engagement correctly. Because if Nyoken just keeps stimming like this and then running back, see, as he burrows, run back, he's just being so efficient. And now he's going to add siege tanks to the mix. He has that vessel. And a radiate on a lurker in the back, just reducing this army size so dramatically. Looks like Nyoken going to push up to the choke. All right, sieging up now. And, well, here's the last stand of StRyKeR. It's just not going to end up working out. GG is called, and Nyoken takes his 2nd map. All right. Whew.